Welcome to day 17 of the Reset Button Workshop. So I'm sure you are probably wondering, what am I looking at, Priscilla? And so this video is my gift to you. I feel like when content creators and influencers and anybody that decides to come online shares stories, sometimes I always wonder, what are some of the things that they're like embarrassed to talk about or embarrassed to share, or maybe nobody knows and they call it their dirty little secret because nobody in their life knows, not even their closest friends, or maybe just one or two friends. And that's really the basis of this entire, if you are watching this from my YouTube channel, Confessions of Being Fabulous, that is the basis of that channel and everything that you will ever see with that name branded on it. Transparency. The idea that sometimes there's a story behind a story that I'd rather not tell, but I'm gonna go ahead and tell it anyway because I feel like that's the part that's actually gonna help people. So today we are still in the decluttering phase. This is decluttering part 3. And the reason we're spending so much time here is because it's so important. Because if we're messy, if we don't have things that, are crystal clear in our minds with respect to what we want to do, where we want to go, how we're going to get there, whether or not we have the ability to get there, do we have the capacity to get there, do we even have the room, mentally, in our brains, physically, in our homes, in our cars, like, do we have the room? So by now, I don't know if you're getting depressed from all of this decluttering business, but I have zero regrets about making this a third day on the topic because I know what's on the other side of decluttering. So that's why we're going through it. So what you're looking at today is actually the second half of the decluttering process for me with respect to one or two of my categories. So remember, we talked about how you should first do a brain dump. After you do a brain dump, you can kind of see a pattern. You can see that you have different things that are similar, and I advised you to put those things into categories. I told you once you put them into categories, now you're able to basically say, okay, I'm going to tackle this category on this date at this time for at least 30 minutes, every day until it's done. And then I believe that's where we left off. So I want to talk to you today about a potential trap if you don't anticipate it, and if you don't catch it, you could fall into a trap that we're going to discuss today. And that is, once you decide that you're going to go through this process. Now, what you're looking at on my floor is actually files that were kind of all over the place in 2 or 3 boxes that I had. And I was fortunate enough to ask my babysitter if she wanted to do some organizing, and she said sure. So thank you, Shamika. She did this for me. And now I have to basically go and look at each pile and figure out what I'm going to do. I was able to tell immediately just from looking at some of the piles, half of this stuff is trash, like literally actual trash. So I'm actually excited to be able to throw. I've actually already thrown a lot away. You wouldn't know that, but the floor was literally covered. It was papers everywhere. Some of it I've already thrown out. But back to the video. So we are going to talk about a common trap. And one of the common traps is people get excited about the idea of decluttering. They start the process of decluttering, but what they actually end up doing is just organizing. They don't truly like put themselves in a place where they have now created space for things indefinitely. They've created a moment of maybe clarity, a moment of organization, a moment of having things in their proper place, a moment of making sure that everything has a home, but it's not long lasting, it's not forever. So what you have to do, and this is what I am doing, you have to, yes, do this process. This is the down and dirty process that nobody wants to do. Some of this stuff was in that box right there. I have 2 other boxes, well, not even box, it's a big crate behind me, a bench, that should have been for other things, but it ended up being for some of this stuff. So I get it. Nobody wants to go through this process. But when you finally go through the process and now it looks like this, where you have piles that are kind of sort of organized, you can kind of make sense of what that pile is about and decide if it's trash, if it's, whatever it is, you can now make decisions. People think that that's the end. But no, that's not the end. That's the beginning. So what you have to do is get to this point. Yes, declutter, organize things, put them in piles, like do whatever you have to do. Obviously, this applies to other things. My big dirty secret, is paperwork. I have to do better in this department. I'm working on it, and so here we are. For you, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's clothes that are in your closet, it's shoes, it's, pots and pans, whatever, coffee mugs. You're a hoarder of coffee mugs. Whatever the case may be, the same rules apply. But what you have to do is, once you get to this point, now, yes, you figure out, okay, what am I doing with all of this stuff? In my case, like I said, I already know a lot of this is trash. Like, I'll be transparent with you. I have stuff from when I when I graduated law school and was studying for the bar. Like, I actually found bar examination materials, study materials, that is, from, that time period of my life. So we're really going in the crates, through the crates here. Like, I don't need that stuff. So a lot of this is going to be trash, and I'm happy about it. But let's talk about the stuff that's not trash. So that's where it can get tricky. If you have a group of items that, no, they're not meant to be thrown away, you don't want to throw them away, and then even more important, there's some kind of action that you need to take so that you can address that situation, then you need to create a whole new list. A whole new list. Not, a brain dump, not categories, a whole new list. And you can call that list, what am I calling mine? Decluttering action items. Decluttering action items. And so what I mean by that is, let's say that you pick up, you see you have envelopes there. So let's say that a top envelope, we grab it, I open it up, I read it. Inside, it reads, Priscilla, you have to come to this gynecologist's office on such and such a date because we perform a test and we see blah, 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 and we just want to follow up with you. So that's not something you want to just like, oh, okay, it's organized and now it's somewhere like, in a folder. You certainly don't want to try to remember it. No, like that's something you have to take action on that particular item. So this new list is for you to now, as you're opening things, list what exactly you have to do next with respect to what you just read. And again, in this case, this is paperwork. So that's why I'm, using these types of examples. If it's not paperwork that you're dealing with, if it's something different, then obviously tweak what I'm saying to fit your situation. But because mine is paperwork, I'm going to use that for the examples. But I have to now, on this list, I have to put call such and such gynecology on October 27th at 8 a.m. to schedule follow-up appointment. And then I would advise taking it a step further and putting that same reminder in your actual calendar, on your actual phone, or wherever you are, I feel like a lot of people nowadays are doing digital reminders. So if that's you, okay, if you do have like a paper planner and you're actually writing stuff in a planner, like a planner where you write it physically with your hands, like you could do that too. But the point is, I would put it in your planner, some kind of reminder system after you've listed it. So that's one thing that could pop up. Let's say that the next thing is a bill. Maybe it's a bill that you forgot about, or maybe it's a bill that you know all about and you just haven't addressed it for whatever reason, whatever the case may be. So now you want to take that and you want to put on the action item list, call such and such to find out balance, or to make payment arrangement, or to pay. What you're going to do is what you're going to do. What I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. Everybody's going to do something different. Yours might be call such and such to dispute. There's some bull. I don't know what you're doing with your bills. But the point is, whatever you're going to do, you need to write that down. And again, I always advise, be as specific as possible. What I have done to make it a little easier is I have a list, and because obviously a lot of this is personal, so that's the only reason I'm not showing you my exact list, because it is my personal business, and I want to help you guys, but I don't know you like that. So you're gonna have to just read between the lines and pay attention. But I know that when you make this list, be as specific as you can. And I would even say take it one step further for those of you that are living the digital life. I love, using my Evernote app. I use it to take pictures of different paperwork because it has an excellent scanner, like built-in scanner system. So when I take the picture, I can save it as a document, not a picture. And it literally looks like I went to, somebody's office to scan it. But I didn't. I just took a picture on my phone. So anyway, what I've been doing is on the list that I'm writing, I'll reference the piece of mail or the document or the letter or whatever and say, call such and such to find out blah, 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 blah. In parentheses, though, I'll put pick located in this folder in Evernote app, because that's the app that I'm using. So now I know when I look at that list, if it's a day where I'm supposed to address items on that list and I get to that particular item, I can get all of the details, the account number, if there's some kind of reference number, if there's a specific name of a person, if there's a time, all of those details. Instead of writing all of that down, now I know just go to the app when I'm ready to deal with that item, and all of that information is in there. And then also it allows me to be able to throw away that document. So I don't have to, put it in my corner of items currently being addressed. I could just throw it away. So the trick is you want to get to this point where you get all your stuff out of that. And that's just one cute little box. I got some other boxes that's not so cute and they're much larger. So you want to get all of that stuff out. When you get it out, it'll probably end up looking like this. You're going to organize it, or you're going to have someone organize it for you. You'll have some files, some stacks that you have to look through. Some of those stacks will clearly be trash. Some of them may not be trash, but they're still, manageable. But whatever the case may be, you're eventually going to be one by one going through all of this paper. So as you're going through it, do not make the mistake of thinking that you're going to memorize the actions that you have to take with respect to each letter, item, record, whatever. Don't try to memorize anything. Write down in a separate list the actions that you need to take. And then also, I would suggest, I love Evernote, so I'm always, they're not even sponsoring this video. I'm just a true, I use it, I always have, I love it. But whatever you're going to use something so that you can now, instead of writing down every single detail that's in the letter, you can take a picture of it somewhere, put it in your phone, and then when you're ready to deal with that, you will be prompted on the list, because in parentheses, you'll just put attend to this particular thing on such and such a date, refer to Evernote app for details. Details meaning all of the, the stuff that you don't want to write down. So that's what you want to do. And the point of that is, if you don't have a working list of action items that you need to take, then that means all you're doing is organizing. And remember, this isn't about just organizing and, getting this stuff out of your hair. And no, like, we're trying to transform. We're trying to press the reset button. And in pressing the reset button, if this is your issue, because some of the people that are watching this, so thank you for indulging, if you happen to be one of the people watching, maybe you don't have any issues because you wouldn't allow things to even get to this point. Congratulations. I confess I have not been like you. And a lot of people are not like you. So, for the people that have ever gotten things, you know, looking like this, well, no, this is the pretty version, looking like that. They were in that box. That box was looking crazy. And now it looks like this. Still looking crazy, but there are some piles now. There's some sense to the piles, you know. Makes a little bit of sense. So if you got to this point, cool. But now don't look to just get organized. That's not what you want. You don't want to get organized. You want to be healed. You want healing. And so you have to follow all of these steps with respect to decluttering. If you need to, go back to the first day of decluttering, watch the second day, and this is now the third day. Read or listen to them again, just so you can make sure you're following all the steps. You want to declutter, but you want to stay, you know, that way. And so the final piece, after you've gone through these steps, you've, you know, kind of put everything in these categories. Now you're going through the categories at designated times of the day or night. As you're going through each piece within a category, you are now writing it down on a list. And that list is specifying what you need to do, whether it's call, pay, whatever action it is that you need to take is specified. It has in parentheses where you can go to get the rest of the information. I'm suggesting that that be somewhere digital so that you could throw the mail away or throw the letter away or throw whatever it is away. And then the final step to all of this, create a system in the moment. Don't do it later. In the moment, when you're ending your 30-minute session of decluttering for the night or whatever amount of time you've allotted, in the moment, come up with a way that you will not get back in the situation that you're in with respect to whatever stuff you went through that night. So for example, let's say that I allotted 30 minutes and in 30 minutes I was able to get through one of those stacks over there, just one. So maybe within those stacks, I had a whole bunch of Easy Pass violations. True story, by the way. So within the Easy Pass violations, I see that some of what's there because you're able to see, you know, specific dates and times. Some of it is actually not that I did anything wrong, but something with the Easy Pass was defective that day. You know, that does happen. Some of the days, I actually, whatever, maybe took it down or I was going too fast or whatever the case may be. But you need to come up with a system for how you are going to address that issue in the future. Because again, you don't want to be here again. I don't want to be here again. So just as an example, in the case of Easy Pass, what I decided is every, I think I decided Friday. I don't have it in front of me. I wrote it down. But basically every, whatever, you know, day you decide or however, whatever the frequency is going to look like for you, but come up with a day and time that you are going to basically check in on that item. So checking in on that item, in my example, might mean actually go to your Easy Pass account and make sure everything looks the way it's supposed to look. If you know, living in New York, but also, you know, going to Jersey here and there, and lately I've been going a lot, you know, back and forth, so I'm paying this GW Bridge toll pretty much every day because I've just had a lot of back and forth for a bunch of different reasons, and I know that I'm doing this, so it makes sense to every Friday, for example, just check it out and see what it's looking like. If anything looks funny, you know, nip that in the bud, like within that week. Don't wait until, oh, wait a minute, this happened like 4 months ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no reason to do that. So the system, in my example, is every Friday, or, you know, it can be once a month. The frequency is up to you. But every whatever, I am going to do X to check in on blah, 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 so that I can see where things stand. So it's basically like, if you look at this as, how can I maintain things just being in good order and condition at all times? That's your safest bet. If you're able to do that, if you're willing to do that, you can't get here again. You won't get here again. It's impossible, because you have a system for maintaining order, right? And that's what we want. We want order. When there's order, we're able to think clearly. We're able to move about the way that we need to and crush these goals and ultimately press that reset button. All right, so hopefully, I believe this is the final day of decluttering. As I told you in previous videos, I've been creating this course, the Reset Button Workshop, in real time. So what I thought that I was doing over the course of 21 days, I was led to not do that, and instead, in real time, actually record these videos, which means sometimes the lessons are coming to me that day. So I say all of that to say, I believe today, day 3 of decluttering, is the final day on decluttering. But don't hold me to that, because if something comes to me tomorrow and I feel like it's important and it'll help you guys, I'm gonna bring it to you. All right? But that's basically it. I would encourage you to rewind this video. If I know a lot was said, but hopefully it makes sense. The whole idea here is just don't get too excited when you get to the point where you finally have some organization, you know, because you have piles that make sense. That's just the beginning. Now you got to figure out, okay, what am I doing with this stuff? You got to write that down. Once you write it down, now you got to figure out a day to address what you wrote down. And then you want to have somewhere where you can easily access the information without having to keep the actual paperwork or item or whatever. All right? So in a nutshell, that's what it looks like. Congrats. If you're going through this process, I know it might be painful, boring, and you may have even procrastinated a little bit and not even, you know, gotten started. No worries. Just go back to day 1 of decluttering and get it started, you know? Like, it's for you. It's going to allow you to press the reset button in ways that you can't even imagine. So do not sleep on the decluttering process. Thank you for being here, guys. Thank you for going through this, you know, process. I believe in you. Please believe in yourself. Trust the process. And I will see you in day 18. Take care.